Simon with Assets and Arbitrage. And today we have more of we're just going to update you on some stuff that's going on.
Yeah, so we had a show that we had scheduled to do today, but we felt like we needed to update you guys on some things that are going on out here in the community, right? Because we always ask people to travel. We want people to travel and move around. So we want to talk about this story here that happened in Mexico, where 4 Black people who came to Mexico, 2 were kidnapped, and 2 were executed, and another one was shot and harmed but expected to live, and another one made it away. So we want to talk about that, right? Because we don't want people to be scared of traveling and moving abroad, but there are some dangers. We had a show a few shows back called Safety. We talked about the safety of moving around different countries. So we just want to go through this situation and kind of talk about things that the people didn't deserve to be killed and or harmed, but we want to talk about some of the situations, some of the mindsets, some of the ways, strategies that you can move around that these things don't happen. So right now we're gonna share our screen and we're gonna go over just a quick video, CNN, and they'll break it down real quick. And they'll talk about some of the things that went on in that scenario. And and we just want to go through that. It's a different show, but we'll still have our some good game on some financial stuff. But we're going to go through this video real quick. Let us share our screen.
I'm just gonna move this out you guys' way. It's annoying. I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but I'm just moving it.
The latest now on the kidnappings of those 4 Americans in Mexico. 2 of them survived and are back in the U.S. this morning, but sadly, the other 2 died. CNN is learning that they were traveling across the border so that one of them could undergo cosmetic surgery as part of a trend called medical tourism. More than 1 million Americans travel abroad for medical procedures each year. CNN health reporter Jacqueline Howard joins us now. Good morning, Jacqueline. Why are so many Americans getting this medical care out of the country? Is it simply a cost thing?
Don, cost definitely has a role to play in this, but there are also other reasons as well. It can range from cost to they might be seeking a procedure or treatment that's approved outside of the U.S., but not approved here. And then also there's the wait time. Someone might be on, for instance, an organ transplant list, and the wait is shorter outside the U.S. So all of that plays a role, and it's definitely connected with what kind of procedure or treatment the person is looking for. So the most common types of medical care that people seek outside of the U.S. include dental care, cosmetic surgeries, even fertility treatments or cancer care. And Don, this is on the rise. So one study says that in 2007, fewer than 800,000 people traveled internationally from the U.S. for medical care. But by 2017, that number rose to more than 1 million Americans. So this is a growing trend really right before our eyes, Don.
So what happened here, though, is highlighting the dangers of that. We know that it is rare for medical tourists to be kidnapped like what happened to that group in Mexico, but there are other risks.
Right. There are definitely medical risks. So, of course, with the group in Mexico, we saw that they traveled to an area high in crime. So that's a risk when it comes to travel itself. But when we're looking specifically at the medical risks with medical tourism, there's the risk of infection. You're risking quality of care. There also could be communication challenges with the medical staff. And then the risk of continuing care. If something goes wrong, what do you do? And there are steps you can take to minimize risk, like obtain international travel health insurance. But overall, Don, these are risks that people need to keep in mind. Bring copies of health records with you, research your medical provider and the medical facility. So all of that plays a role, Don.
Okay, you guys. So I'm just gonna add just a few things here. Lately, the cosmetic surgery has been on the rise. I'm not talking to you guys about any of the other surgeries that you need that are very important to your health. I'm talking to you guys about cosmetic surgery. One, when you're dealing with this cosmetic surgery, they've had Vice documentaries, they've had all these different documentaries, and you're cutting corners, okay? It is cheaper. However, it's cheaper because he may not be a real doctor. He can print up whatever he wants to and show you he's a board certified doctor. Board certified for who? How can you check? We have no idea if the clinic was in on what happened to those people, right? It's a small town, it's high in crime. It tells me that, you know, we're not necessarily doing the research that we need to do. We're probably attracted down to the medical tourism there. The cosmetic surgery is the price. I'm sure it was a very good price. A lot of times, if you're going to get a tummy tuck, they'll do higher fat transfers in other countries than they will in the United States. This is for safety reasons. Simon and I worked in healthcare for over 15 years. That's the higher fat transfer is extremely dangerous. BBLs. If you young ladies are out here really trying to, you know, research and see if you can get a BBL, in other countries, they are extremely dangerous. You are under anesthesia. You do not know what they are inserting into your tissues. Some people have had horror stories about cement. They are closing the site up with crazy glue. And when I say crazy glue, I'm talking like Gorilla Glue, right? They are not using medical grade equipment. If they do have the silicone pockets that they are inserting in there, are those medical grade silicone inserts? Are they damaged? Did they get them at a good price because they weren't quality enough to be used in a facility? These are all of the things that we need to be looking into as a community when it comes to this cosmetic surgery. Black women, we are dying over fat asses and big titties. Let's just be honest, okay? It's your prerogative, however you want to do, but if you are insistent on going and getting medical tourism, we are telling you, we travel often, right? We are very seasoned travelers. Yes, it's going to be cheaper outside the US, but don't go with, what do I call it? Cutting corners. Don't cut corners, right? If you have to pay just a little bit more in the city center, when I said the city center, I'm talking about the capital of the country, Mexico City, the capital of Turkey, because Turkey has a very high medical tourism rate. Don't go to these little offshoot places because the price is even cheaper. You do not know if they are doctors. You can't look into them, at least in big cities like Mexico City, the city centers like Istanbul and Turkey. I can't remember another place that's high medical tourism. It's gonna come back to me. But
Colombia and
so like Medellin in Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, like those big cities, you wanna stay in those places, but if the price is too good to be true, there's too much risk involved with it, it's not worth it. Okay, those people did nothing wrong. I wanna make that very clear. The 4 people who were traveling, it is unfortunate what happened to them, but they did absolutely nothing wrong. It's just that if they would have asked some more seasoned travelers, we would have highly recommended. That's just too small of a town.
Yep.
You don't know if the doctor's board certified. I mean, I would have been more along the medical aspect, as well as you're gonna stick out like a sore thumb in a very small place and you're carrying a lot of physical cash on you. She's not paying with her debit card, right? She probably got her tax return. They're probably traveling with 5, 6, 7, 10, 12, 15,000 US dollars on them. And that is where trouble begins to start. We always talk about not traveling like that.
right, and I would never recommend people drive to Mexico. You can do it, but I wouldn't recommend it. I don't recommend it at all. You know, you go ahead, you book yourself a flight. You fly into Mexico City, and then maybe from there, you may rent a car and then you drive to where you need to go.
In the city center.
City center.
What happens is the border towns, and we tell you guys this all the time. Mexico, great country, lots of pluses, lots of minuses, right? We talk about how safe it is because we don't live anywhere near the border of the United States. Cartel country is always going to border the US. This is because drugs are manufactured and delivered for the use of the United States citizens. It is the US who uses all of the drugs that are being manufactured by the cartel. That's why they're always in border towns. Okay, that's just too close to the US. So if you are traveling and you are trying to, be safe, you stay away from border town Mexican pueblas, even kind of bigger cities. If it's bordering the United States, it's not safe.
Right.
US citizens like to think that, all of that cartel activity is just the Mexicans. No, it's for y'all. It's for you guys there in the US, right? Mexicans typically, I don't think I've ever seen a Mexican high on anything because it's just too expensive. Heroin's expensive, crack's expensive, cocaine's expensive. It is the wealth in the United States that purchases the opioids and all of the stuff that the cartel manufacture. And that's why there's so much violence, because there's so much money that's there and involved. So if you are insistent on getting cosmetic surgery, ladies, y'all are beautiful. I don't know who told you that as a Black woman, your ass needs to be bigger. It's big enough. It's bigger than everybody else's. If your breasts are not big, it's not worth the risk to now insert something in there and risk getting some type of deadly cancer. Again, your prerogative, but I mean, y'all are beautiful. I don't want to see you guys doing that. If you need another type of surgery, notice you're not going to be able to get in all these little towns, right? If you need a new heart valve, you gotta go to Mexico City to get that. You can't get that in Matamoros. If you needed a rod in your ankle, if you needed your knee repaired, which a lot of people do come here to get knee replacements, they go to Mexico City. These little pueblos and stuff are not doing that. They are seeking to gain your dollars, Black women, with the cosmetic surgery, and there's just too much risk associated with it. It's just not worth it. And that's in any country, I'm gonna be honest with you. The travel was dangerous in this case. I'm not sure why she didn't fly. Some people are saying she went to get a tummy tuck. Some people say she went to get a BBL. That way she can lay on her stomach because she can't sit on her cheeks, right? To go home.
Yeah, or vice versa.
If it's risky to fly home after you've had that type of surgery, it's not worth it. And a lot of us women, us Black women are dying because of those cosmetic surgeries. But just for regular travel, for business, for leisure, right? Do not drive to Texas. The cartel has all of these highways. I'm sorry, to Mexico. My apologies. From Texas to Mexico. Or California to Mexico. The cartels are able to take over these more remote interstates.
Yeah, and you got to understand, you're driving through Mexico with an American license plate, so you stick out. So it's not a good way to travel, and it's not really even cheaper. It may be more expensive. It's probably easier just to fly. You probably get a better rate and stuff like that. But yeah, that's what we've been talking about, and we wanted to go to this next story so we could show you how maybe how it's kind of resolving and closing up the story. But we're going to go about this one. You guys probably heard of this story recently. I think we got on it on Friday. And give a shout out. We're going to give a shout out to the big homie Tariq Nasheed. He did a great podcast about this, I believe on Wednesday. So go over there to Tariq Radio and check that out, because he got real in depth and talked about some other things. He went down the rabbit hole a little bit, and so go over there and check that out. It will be in the description. Tariq Nasheed, yeah, he did a great show on that.
All right, sometimes I struggle with technology.
No, it's all good.
I work in tech, but my Mac got a mind of its own. Okay, I'm gonna make this bigger. I'm not really sure why lately you guys are unable to read what's going on. We've got our Wi-Fi looked at and everything like that, but I'm gonna kind of try to monitor it. I'm gonna read it to you just in case it's hard to make out the words, and only the information that is relevant. So the Mexican authorities recently arrested 5 people in connection with the kidnappings of those 4 Americans. That was on Wednesday. And then on Friday, they recently arrested 1 more. The cartel turned the group over with an apology note and is basically saying, we don't do business like this. Like, these guys went rogue. This is not how we do business. And we're sorry, right? We're sorry that this happens. Kind of like almost mafia style. You know what I mean? This young generation went rogue and saw an opportunity and tried to take it. I tell you guys all the time, when you're traveling, if people see an opportunity, they will absolutely take it. So you try to take the least amount of risk as possible.
And we're gonna reverse real quick, like she said, mafia style, right?
Mhm.
These guys went out and tried to grab a bag
Yeah.
behind the back of the higher ups. So they don't play that either, right? So you're trying to get a bag out here without giving us our cut. So they don't play that either.
And
they don't
I
play
think
that.
too, right, making the block hot, like
Oh, yeah.
we're talking real stuff now. Y'all
Mhm.
making the block hot, you're getting the FBI authorities involved,
Yeah.
who were already in bed with this business, but now you're gonna have American scrutiny on what's going on,
Mhm.
right? Understand, manufacturing and distribution for the US. Don't make the block hot. We're in bed with them, we're doing what we're doing with them. You making the block hot, they're gonna be like, oh, we can't touch y'all. And now we gotta go in and fake this. You guys should watch Sicario too. You watch Sicario too, how the feds manufactured a cartel war in order to kind of get some stuff done and then backed out of it. You'll understand exactly what we're explaining to you.
So they made the block hot. They're not staying on code, as we talked about. You got to stay on code. So yeah, they snatched them up, turned them over with the quickness.
So again, I told you there was an apology note. These are the people here. We have the beautiful Latavia Washington. I don't know why she thinks she needs to. This is a beautiful woman here.
Yes.
Along with three, I want to say that they're friends or very close family members.
Mhm.
Washington McGee, who survived. And unfortunately, we lost Shaheed Woodard and Zindell Brown here over to our right. And they went there likely to protect her from this very thing, right? So she did that right. She didn't travel by herself. She didn't travel with a bunch of girlfriends, hot girl summer, in order to get this done. She did have the right mindset and want to take some strapping black men with me in order to keep me safe. Even though we're in a very safe Puebla, Simon is very good friends with the police chief here. The state police chief has been to our house. We've served dinner. The mayor is our neighbor. The kids are friends. We do have a great social network, physical social network that we built. So we're pretty much protected. My husband still doesn't let me leave this house by myself. If I am not with him, I have to be with our 21-year-old who was just as big and as strapping as his dad. And it's a situation where, I mean, even if we lived in the US, I think you would be kind of, with all those black women missing, you'd be weird about me.
Same thing.
I work from home.
Same protocol.
That's a safety thing, but I don't even go to the corner store without the protection of my husband and or my son, because a lot of times we roll the 6 of us, right? Or sometimes just the 3 of us, right? The 2 parents, co-parent. And then I'm almost done. I'm going to show them this, but I just want to tell you, even though we are safe, we have done the things we needed to do. We established a social network with the police chief, because the police are just as corrupt. So they're not going to cross the police chief. They're not going to cross the state police chief. They're not going to cross the mayor. So we have that tightened up. If anything happens, they'll be on top of it because they do come to our home. They do have dinner here and stuff like that. So you try to cross off as many things on the list as possible in order to protect yourself. But at the same time, things happen, right? Like I said, they didn't really do anything wrong other than, I wish if she was absolutely insistent on changing her body, that she would have went straight to Mexico City and flew. Right? And if the doctor told her like, oh, it's not a good idea to fly and this and that and the third, that you just back out of that decision. It's just not worth it. And lastly, here, this is very important. So it says here, new video confirms Americans route. We've been living here, this is year 6, going on year 6. I just saw a picture. Okay, 6 years. We drive everywhere that's safe, right? We take popular interstates. We stay in areas that we are extremely familiar with. And we don't go to Mexico City. We're not going to Acapulco or all those other places. It's not necessary. Maybe we'll go to Cancun, but we'll fly. Anyway, the GPS here is not as accurate or as consistent as it is in the US. Oftentimes she's taking us, go here, go there, go there, and then she'll say rerouting. Like, well, you told us to go here. What are you rerouting for? So this is another reason, and it's not something we needed to tell you guys, because typically you're using Uber. We tell you not to use cabs because you don't know where they're going to take you. And there's no transaction of where you went, what you did. But if you're driving here in Mexico, and typically people don't, so we never talked about it, the GPS navigation is absolutely terrible. A lot of times when we're driving to new places, Simon and I have been here, especially in Mexico City, we've been here long enough where we have an idea on where she may want us to actually go. I do not suggest that for newbies. We ran into a Black couple, can you remember this? And they rented a car.
Yeah, yes, indeed.
It was a waste of money, right? Because you don't know where you can park your car. If you get a boot, you don't have the Spanish in order to get the boot off of your car. Been there, done that. Sometimes the car is going to get impounded because you didn't know you couldn't park there because you can't read the sign and you can't read the little writing under the sign.
Yeah.
That there is no ticket, there is no boot. It's just going to be impounded. You think your car got stolen. So if you're coming to any place, it doesn't even mean Mexico. If you're traveling outside of the country to a big city, use Uber. Right? Don't try to rent a car and drive around. It's not safe. It's very confusing. You can get into an accident. Just like people who've never been to New York City is very hard to drive with all the one-ways. And you can accidentally, especially at night, end up on the wrong side of a one-way street. So I just wanted to show you this because apparently their GPS got wonky on them and they ended up traveling away from the medical facility, and nobody knows why. They followed the GPS. They don't know why they made a right turn instead of the left and would have been at the medical facility in 5-6 minutes.
Yeah.
Continuing to drive, eventually they were followed by one car, then several cars, and then the confrontation took place. Lopez Obrador, for many of you who are not familiar, is the president of Mexico. The presidents here have 6-year terms. They call him the Mexican Trump. I'm not sure why, you guys, but he did say that this investigation will be in depth and he's going to have a heavy-handed justice because, again, it's under American scrutiny. They do want to maintain their diplomatic relationship with America. We are America's neighbor and they want to keep it that way. They don't want American scrutiny. Also, I don't know if you guys know, but the digital nomad scene has completely exploded here. Millions and millions of Americans have traveled and moved here or relocated here since September of 2022 last year, as they watch the economy fall apart, especially in California and Washington State, which is very expensive.
Yes.
They've all moved here driving, and he's going to talk about this at the end of the show, driving the economy up to a place where it is strengthening the Mexican peso against the US dollar, but we'll talk about that later.
Let me get on this last thing about, with the last thing we want to talk about, the Matamoros. Matamoros, the city they went to. And so Matamoros, it's a border town over there, you know, off of Texas.
It's right by McAllen, Texas.
It has a lot of violence and danger. But, you know, we're gonna dig a little deeper and take the metaphysical.
And the etymology.
The etymology, and what does Matamoros mean?
So Matamoros, matar is the Spanish word to kill for my bilingual viewers, and moros means Moor. So this city is actually the Spanish surname in place, meaning Moor killer. Who were the Moors? Cleaver.
And when we say Moor, we're talking about
M-O-O-R.
Moor. The Moor. So
that civilized Spain, who the Spaniards absolutely hate and wanted to take and that's why I'm telling you guys, we talk about it all the time. The historical context when you're traveling is important so you can understand the history of that there. Is the cartel sorry that 4 Black people were murdered? No. That's not where the apology comes in. The apology comes in that we're sorry that these 5-6 jackasses made the block hot for us in business.
yes, that's what they're sorry.
So I don't want you to think that the Mexicans are like, oh my God, we killed some Black people and we're so sorry. No. We're sorry that we made business a little bit harder for us in Q1 and Q2 of 2023. So we do want to bring these things to your attention. You guys can look that up on your own Wikipedia.
Yeah,
But
we can talk about it more if need be. You know, we already talked about the game here. We go back to the big screen, I guess.
Okay.
That's some big screen in now. So yeah, we just wanted to bring that to you because that was news. out there, and we always, we like to, ask people to travel and do this thing. But when things come up that are dangerous, we have to, we have to bring in, the parts that were dangerous. Those people didn't deserve to die at all, not anyway, but sometimes you got to do things a little safer way. Driving through a heavy cartel state in Mexico is a bad idea. It's a bad idea. I mean, every day of the week. So we're not blaming them for making a mistake, but when you travel, be safe. We've done these shows about safety, so you have to make sure you're doing your due diligence, your research on the safety of travel.
And I want to say one more thing. I've been hearing a lot of talking, right, on the timelines and stuff. Don't let this make you scared to travel, right? I've been hearing a lot of people like, this is why I don't go to Mexico. No, you don't go to Mexico because you're scared to travel. Don't let this be the thing that keeps you stuck in St. Louis, which is way more dangerous than any place in Mexico. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you always want to kind of put things in context. I talked to a young lady and she was just like, it's stupid for people to be traveling to Mexico, and what y'all doing there? I asked her, I said, do you mind me asking what city you live in? Because I want to hear like the Hamptons, Long Island or something like that. She lives in St. Louis. I said, so tell me how where you live is safer than any other place. And she gave me a good answer. She said, it's the devil I know. She said, I know what block to go down. I know what block not to go down. I know not to leave my house. After a certain time, I'm going to a place where I don't speak the language. I'm going to a place where I don't know which block is, hot and heavy, which block isn't. So I'm saying, if you have very specific goals in mind, there's nothing wrong with, if you don't like traveling, don't travel. He hates to fly. It's only because we're married that he does it for me. But I don't know how much flying he would have gotten in if he had a wife who was like, man, I don't like flying either. Right. So I'm just saying, don't let this make you scared to do something you absolutely want to do. If you're already in that mindset that, that's why I don't travel and I've never been anywhere outside of the south side of Chicago, okay, I get it. But if you are like, I do want to venture out, I do want to do something different, my city isn't that dangerous that I live in, so that excuse doesn't work for me, then do it the right way. Be safe. Go to the city capitals, right? Go to the capitals of the country. Yeah. Try not to travel by yourself if you can. If you are traveling by yourself, have the buddy system. Make sure somebody in the United States knows where you are, where you're gonna be. Have like your check-in process, right? People fall down in the shower and just die. Nobody killed them. No one did anything nefarious to them. They're just missing now. And it turns out that, they passed away in their Airbnb or whatever. So you just want to have that covered and taken care of regardless of what could potentially happen traveling alone, if you absolutely have to travel alone. But don't let things like this make you scared to travel, because if that was the case, we wouldn't go to the supermarket where people are getting gunned down. We wouldn't go to the movies where people are getting gunned down. We wouldn't go to the mall where people are getting gunned down. We wouldn't, participate in marathons where people are getting bombed. Like, make it make sense and put it into the context where it's a real conversation. If you're scared to travel, say that. Be acknowledge that within yourself. Don't use an excuse like, that's why I don't travel, when you've never traveled and you've never left the city or the state that you live in. We talk about accountability. Be accountable to yourself as well. Yeah.
All right, we just wanted to get that in, because we like to promote travel and things like that. We wanted to speak on that because it is a big deal. It was a big deal. But, we're going to go with a hard transition, a hard pivot, if you will. And we want to talk about a little bit about Forex and inflation and some of the things that's going on, globally, financially. So
can I just say something real quick?
Yes.
He's bringing this up, but I want to say, for some of our viewers, I feel like our content may not make sense in a crypto space. So I just want to give you guys just a little bit of context to where, if you don't understand your local economy and you don't understand how global economics plays into your local economy, you don't really understand the signals in purchasing crypto, right? You don't know when it's a good idea to go ham because we have all of these different signals in the economy.
Yeah.
And you don't know when to pull back and say, you know what, maybe I need to be heavier in cash. Maybe I need to be heavier in precious metals because these signals are showing me that I need to pull back from crypto for right now and try to see if I can be heavier into something else in order to cushion myself against extreme volatility and loss. So I just want to explain, I know the gentlemen of crypto, they have a great channel. A lot of our content creators on this channel, they zero in, they're laser focused on this coin, that coin, Bitcoin, and different aspects of crypto. But we wanted to bring you guys a macro level view of why the crypto is important and when you go ham and when you should just kind of like, oh, let me pull back a little so that I'm not getting torn up by extreme volatility and loss. So we're going to talk to you guys now about inflation and volatility, but I'm going to have this disclaimer moving forward because I feel like sometimes our viewers are like, well, what does that have to do with crypto?
Right.
And you do need to understand the global economy and your local economy and the flags and signals that are associated with it.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about right now, something that we probably should have did a show on quite a while ago, but we're here now. We want to talk about the dollar and the euro meeting parity. And they meet parity, you said, for the first time in 20 years. Okay, so that is interesting. That's interesting. So that is the dollar gaining strength against the euro, which is interesting because the dollar is actually losing strength against some other currencies that people wouldn't really value that high. But we'll get into it. So go ahead and tell them about.
So in September of 2022, for the first time in 20 years, the dollar met parity with the euro. For many of you who do travel and do understand how expensive Europe used to be, it used to be really expensive for Americans because the euro was always like $1.20, $1.50 to $1 US. Now, I'm going to share my screen again so you guys can see what I mean. So on Google, they have a great, what would I call it? Like in a rate exchange, thank you. It's a great rate exchange chart. And you have the dollar, typically if you do USD to whatever the name of the money is, the currency is, it will show you its equivalency. So right now it's $1 to 94 euro. This is the first time, I'm sorry, 0.94. So 94 cents. So if you guys did want to travel to Europe, this is a great time to do it. You are going to get a bit of a discount. And it's the first time in over 2 decades that it's looked this way. The Canadian dollar is still more expensive than the US dollar at $1.29 to $1 US. But you can put any currency in this chart below.
Let's go to the peso, Mexican peso.
You see all of the currency here. Here it is. And right now it's $1 to 18 pesos and 43 centavos. So here is the 5-year chart and you can see it's strengthening. Can I make it bigger? No.
Okay.
So, but I mean, they can go on here, USD to MXN. I'm hoping you guys can see it because I cannot make this chart bigger. I'm so sorry. But they can see the peak here. And this is March of 2020 during the pandemic when it was almost 21, 22. It was so weak during the pandemic. So the higher the chart is, the weaker the currency, the lower it is, the stronger the currency. For those of you who are trying to read it, you guys, we are here at the very end and look how low it is.
So it's almost, when we got here, this is about the same price. And that was 2017. And it pushed all the way up to $24. Pushed it all close to almost 25. And
25 pesos.
Yeah, 25 pesos. And you can see that peak right there. Right there.
During the pandemic.
Yeah, you can see that peak. It didn't last long. It walked right back down. And then it kind of it was steady, a little spike here. And then now you're seeing this downturn. So this downturn is almost back to 20. What year is this here? I'm sorry.
This is gonna be 2018.
2018. So this downturn is equal to 2018.
Mhm.
So
And it's
you know,
lower, stronger.
and what she's saying is, as you travel abroad, just keep an eye on the different currencies that you're going to be using.
Mhm.
Like she said, you go to Europe and it's going to be cheaper now,
Mhm.
right? But coming to Mexico is going to be more expensive than it has been. And you can take the dollar against any currency, against any currency of any place that you're thinking about traveling. And that's that's a thing to look at. What is this? The euro?
Yes, the euro.
Okay.
So it's struggling. The euro's struggling, and the euro is a relatively new. It's a relatively new currency.
Yes, indeed.
Also, when we tell you these things, what does this chart mean? For those of you who are like, I hear what you're saying, but I still don't know what the chart means. The chart shows you when you're getting a discount,
Mm-hmm.
and the chart shows you when it may not be worth it to spend a lot of time or money in a place. We are heavily invested here, so we're just gonna have to kind of wait this out a little bit. It's still significantly cheaper than the United States, don't get me wrong, but we're not getting the discount that we absolutely used to have joy-filled laughter with.
Right.
Now, what's another signal? Why aren't we getting the discount that we used to absolutely enjoy? And these are the different signals that we need to look into. One of the reasons why we are not getting the discount that we used to get is, one, because so many Americans have traveled here, the digital nomads. They're getting paid at their global tech firms. They're making great money and they're spending all of it here, propping up the economy. That's one. Two, Mexico's thinking about joining the BRICS nations. They're thinking about shit canning a dollar, not having to kiss America's ass anymore, and being able to do and take care of their business and scale up the way they want to without asking for America's position.
And that's important because Mexico is one of Americans' biggest trade partners,
Mhm.
right? So if they're looking to join the BRICS nations plus, that means they're trying to do their business outside of the US dollar.
Mhm.
Now, they won't be able to do business out the US dollar with the United States, but anything else and anywhere else that they trade and, they will be able to, close their, how you call it?
Settle their debts.
Settle their debts outside the US dollar.
Mhm.
And that's important, remember, because when we talked in that older show about the BRICS nation, it's not about the country, it's about the region. And the region is United States, Mexico. That's the reason that Mexico is looking to join the BRICS nations so that they can get outside of the US dollar. That is very important, and that is very harmful to the United States.
Mhm.
And so we will keep an eye on that because that may be a big deal moving forward.
So what does that mean for you guys? We don't care what Mexico's doing, we're American. Guess what? America is losing its power, its hold, and its position within the world. The economy is going to continue to tumble, 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 tumble.
Yes.
On Friday, okay, one of the largest US banks completely collapsed.
Mhm.
Okay, look it up. I'm going to share the article, but I'm getting more and more where I'm not going to, we're not going to feed you guys. We want you to go and do the research, because as you're going and looking for stuff, you're also running in and discovering other things, and that's important. So I don't really like, putting the article, you're just going to read that article and move on.
Mhm.
Silicon Valley Bank is a bank that has been the major bread and butter as far as health goes to tech companies, startups, and US healthcare-based companies, because US healthcare is moving more towards a technological-based care system, right? That bank collapsed on Friday, one of the strongest banks.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put the link in there. A few weeks ago, I'm gonna say several weeks ago, we did a show called US Banks Are Not As Healthy As You Think.
Yeah.
And just to sum up the entire show is that the US bank's health is based on public perception. That's it. It's not based on assets holding. It's not based on treasury holding. It's not based on cash held. It is not based on anything monetary. The health of the US banks are based purely 99.9999999 on public perception.
Right.
Okay, and its previous reputation, because your average American does not know how capitalism works. They don't know how the banking system works. And the banks love that, right? That we don't know how our economy works. And this is why we're really trying to give you guys the economics 101, economics 202, economics 303, and economics 404. Sometimes we give you a lot of content. It's boring, we know, it's tedious, we understand it, and a lot of times it can be complicated, but it's very important for us to understand so we can make the right moves and make the right positions and prepare ourselves to not get hit so hard and heavy when stuff goes wrong.
Yeah, and that's where I want to slide. I like to slide Bitcoin in whenever I can. I always say Bitcoin has many uses, but one of the uses is a store of value.
Mhm.
And this is what we're saying. If you you store $1, $100, $1,000, however you want to go. If since maybe 2015, you see how the dollar has been beaten down, but Bitcoin price has gone up. People complain about the price movement of Bitcoin, but really, if you take a step out, as they say, zoom out and take a macro view of Bitcoin, it really has gone up, and it would really store your purchasing power, that as well as precious metals, gold and silver. So when you are putting your money away with Bitcoin and or precious metals, it's not necessarily an investment as much as it is a store of value sometimes. Andy Shackman, the CEO of Miles Franklin, will tell you that precious metals is it is wealth. So when you buy it, it is wealth, and it will store the value of your dollar over time, right? So when we first got here, I'm just throwing this out. When we first got here, Bitcoin was about $3,000. So we're buying Bitcoin at that level, right? It goes all the way to 65, pulls back all the way. But right now, where it's hovering, as far as I'm concerned, 21,000. I mean, that's great. That's great, because if I just kept dollars, under my mattress or something like that, I would just still have that amount of money. But buying it at 2, 3, 4,000, you almost get if we got it at 2, we almost got a tenfold, a 10x right there over the time. So it is a store of value. So understand that it's a store of value, and you have to have. We talked about this in the show. You have to have a low time preference. Right, over time. High time preference, people want to turn money over right now. But low time preference, we just put something away and we watch it grow, 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 grow. And that's a big deal. You watch it grow for us, as we get older, we watch it grow for our children who will inherit it. We watch it grow for the people, like we said, who aren't here yet. Still we buy. And we watch it grow over time. So if you watch this Bitcoin chart right here, and you zoom out, the chart looks beautiful. Chart is beautiful.
That's over a day. If you did it max, this is when it wasn't where it was worth $327 on November 20th of 2015. Obviously, we had that 60,000 spike. November of 2021, it was worth 61,539. And then we have today where it's worth más o menos $21,400. Today it is up 6,444% all time. Up 21,000. So over from the time they have it listed at November of 2015 to today. This is what the all-time is. It's up 6,000%. So this is what we mean when we say put stuff into context, especially for the Bitcoin detractors. Oh, it's not 60,000 anymore. It's not, but name an asset that's performed better than that. I'd like to hear it. That's still, worth something.
Yes, indeed. And we did a show, Time in Bitcoin, about and we were having your money or your wealth moved across space and time. And that was a perfect example. Right, you keep $1,000 from 2015. It's still $1,000, but it's lost its purchasing power. If you just put $1,000 in Bitcoin, oh boom, you got what?
6,444%.
Right.
Profit. off of it.
profit, you know, and we talk about that with Bitcoin and precious metals. So, you know, hey, that's I mean, that's what we're talking about here. You know, did you have anything else about the hard?
No, I
Hard
just
thing.
wanted to tell them about the banking collapse because
Okay.
one of the reasons why the bank collapsed is because there was a run on the bank, which our show forecasted and talked to you about. I think Stacks and Track also had a show like that. Shout out to our brother content creators on the Gentleman of Crypto. They had a story similar to that as well. So we got the signals. This is what we're talking to you about weeks ago. And now you're just sitting and you're watching. Here's something interesting that I want to share with you, and then we're going to be out. Roku, which many of you use, you're familiar with, they had 26% of their holdings at Silicon Valley Bank. That equal to 487 million US dollars. Do you guys remember the show where we talked about FDIC insured capital assets? Not $1 in that 487 million was insured. They lost all of it because they were with a bank that did not insure 26% of their capital holdings. Now they were smart because their holdings are in other places, but to lose 26% of your treasury assets, God, that's more than a quarter, and that hurts. That's layoffs, that's firings, I'm sure. Like, why did you deposit your money and not insure it? I have no idea why. Is it more expensive? I don't know. I don't have the backstory to that, but it was part of the story that you guys are going to read. And these are the things that even businesses are not doing the things they need to do to protect them from volatility, to protect them from recessions, to protect them from loss, right? And Roku is a major corporation. You guys, everybody knows what a Roku is. So just understand that the fact that they had 26% of their capital assets being held at this bank helped them as a startup. $487 million uninsured. So when the bank collapsed, which they never thought would happen, because they don't watch our show, which they never thought would happen, gone. Where did it go? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, so you know, these are the things you have to guard against. And we're gonna do a show talking about treasury reserve assets and which you should keep it in. It should be cash, it should be precious metals, Bitcoin, all those other things. We'll do a show about that because you know, a lot of people, most people keep their treasury reserve assets in cash. And so sometimes you need to keep it in something that is a little bit more secure. And, you know, we'll go into that. We will definitely go deep into that. I believe next week, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we'll do. But I brought that up because that's a company who had a perception of how healthy this bank was because it had almost trillions of dollars in assets. It's the second major US bank to collapse. You guys remember 2008, you see it in the chart, Lehman Brothers fell apart, but they're not playing by the rules. They're doing whatever they want to. And companies have, just like people have a perception like, oh, the US banking is healthy, we're good. We'll hold our capital assets in here. And when the bank collapsed, their assets were gone. I don't know why almost $500 million isn't insured. I have no idea. But they weren't the only ones whose assets weren't insured with this bank. The people who did have their assets insured, the FDIC went in there, took the money, put it in a special holding place, and those people they're gonna work, the FDIC is gonna work as hard as possible to make all of them whole because they are supposed to be insuring those capital assets. But I just wanted to share the Roku one with you because that was, I mean, we sat there for 25 minutes trying to wrap our mind around who dropped the ball, the wide open pass on that. So we'll talk more about this, guys, next week. We're watching it unfold ourselves. We are going to bring our subject matter expert, Andy Sheckman, because he gets a lot of industry signals that help us to better put the pieces together on the information that's not being reported in the media. So we're definitely having him on. We're going to talk about the collapse of this bank. We're going to see if that chaos is going to spread because this just happened Friday. Today, if you guys are watching, it's going to be Monday, March 13th. So we want to see what's happening as the market opens 9 a.m. this morning until Friday. So hopefully we'll have some more information for you next week.
So yeah, that's all I got. That's all we got, right?
I hope you guys still like our show. Some of the communication slowed down. I think, people didn't like I'm not in a loveless marriage. I want you guys to send me the emails. I tried to make the show as nice as possible, but we do want to tell you why we do some of the weird and wonky things we do. They do work for us. And again, I do want to tell you guys, when we suggest stuff, it worked for us. Doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna work for you, for your situation, for your family, for your financial profile, yada, 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 yada. So they're just things that we like to share as family. If it works, it works. Please try it. If it's not for you, don't worry about it. But if you have suggestions, we're all for it. We're scientists and we love trying new things. So please start sending us the emails again. There's a show in particular, you're like, I want you to kind of dig down into the yada, 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 yada.
Right. Yeah.
Simon and I will work very hard to put that all together for you, give you the resources you need. We're happy to do it.
Yes, indeed. So I guess we're out there and we'll see you next Monday. We got a great show next Monday, So,
Yeah, because Andy will be
yeah,
on.
yeah,
Yep.
Yep. So that's it.
Hope y'all have a great week, very productive.
Yes, indeed.
I hope financial prosperity is finding all of you, and we love y'all. Bye. Nope, I don't want to share the screen. I want to insert. Here we go. Bye, y'all.